And like, what were some of those people? Were there, I mean, like, did they rethink their job? Did they, I don't know. I'm just, yeah.
I know it's hard to talk about it. It's, the New York City Fire Department has its own culture, and we're able to leave a lot of things at work, and we leave them at work, and we're able to we're not making light of the situation, but we're able to laugh about certain things that on the outside, you might not think is that funny, and not that we do, but it's kind of our way to deal with things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was there a long time, and you never really heard the stories. Like, I never heard 9/11 stories. You would hear like, oh, we were down there, we did this, we did that, but like, you wouldn't really hear the in-depth stories. And every once in a while, for whatever reason, somebody would kind of, I don't know, they were in the mood to talk, or and then you would get like the real story, what they did that day, and and then you're like, holy shit, it's just super heavy. And like, these are my friends, and these are the guys I work with, and I don't see that side of them. And then when I do hear it, if they do let it out, I'm just like, I don't know how you guys made it through. Honestly, I don't know how they made it through.
It's crazy, the stories you hear, and like just charging into that building, and trying to save all those people. Like, I mean, I imagine you've had some experiences with some buildings burning and having to do some things, that you would, most people would second guess, right?
Nothing like that.
No, nothing like that. But still, like, it's every time you go out, right? Like, there's always something that, it could potentially happen. Right.
Of course. Yeah.
And it's yeah, that's, I mean,
like, you're kind of saying that like, you can't believe that we do that, and I'm kind of like, oh, it's not that bad. But I'm saying that about the guys I work with who are there, and I'm like, I can't even believe like what you guys went through.
Yeah. What's it like coming up on the 20th anniversary, the mood, in the departments right now? Is there,
I think like everybody else, where everybody's, I can't believe it's 20 years. I can't believe it's been 20 years. I mean, that's the mood.
Yeah.
And that's it. Everyone's just can't believe it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate you sharing this info. Really do. Thank you very much. Can I get your name?
Marvin Weiss.
And where are you from, Marvin?
Long Beach, New York.
Where were you on 9/11? Can you recover?
Surfing Washington Boulevard, Washington Beach, from the crack of dawn till about 10 o'clock. We watched the smoke come out of the city. The waves were perfect, 6 to 8 foot glass. Couldn't have asked for a more spectacular day, except for what happened was the saddening of the day. After surfing all those hours, went home, sat glued in front of the TV for the next 4 to 5 hours, and it's pretty much what we did.
Did you have any friends?
Yes, I lost a personal friend, Michael Kiefer. Michael was a Long Beach lifeguard, friend even before he became a lifeguard in Long Beach, and he was a rookie in the fire department. He passed away that day.
Salento.
And where were you on 9/11?
I was actually doing a plumbing job, and when we were doing this job, we were literally doing a water main. So all of a sudden, like, we just happened to be going downstairs, and the person had TV on, and I thought I was dreaming when I started seeing the TV, And just watching all what was going on, I was in disbelief. We literally sat on this customer's couch, and it was horrible just remembering seeing those pictures and videos and going on. But I really don't know too many people, like personally who was there, but just knowing everybody who was there and all the lives that were lost is just a really terrible day in history, and it's really moving to me, just this whole thing that happened.
Steve, where are you from, Steve?
Hewlett, New York.
And do you remember that day, 9/11?
Yeah, no, it was tragic. I'm a school teacher, and I was in the middle of a lesson, and a teacher came by and said, knocked on the door, said, "Come here," and said, "Plane crashed into the Twin Towers." And I was like, gosh. And I remember an airplane crashed in the Empire State Building many years ago, so that's what I just thought was an accident. And then she came back the second time with fear in her eyes, and I was like, wow, this is something bad. And she said, yeah, no, it's terrorism. And so I had to decide, do I tell my students or not, And the kids were happy, they were doing an activity. I was like, I'm just gonna let them be, And as I was teaching, all of a sudden it hit me. I was in mid-sentence. My brother was a messenger, and he was on one of his stops was one of the towers. So I didn't know for hours because all the phones were down. But then eventually he got stopped before he got to the tower. So I'm very fortunate that he was, wasn't in that situation. And then afterwards, I met my buddy John. We called up. We were just in shock like everyone else. And that day, my son was actually supposed to be born. We'd have him induced. And I thought, my wife's like, it's not happening today. And I said, they need all the doctors in Manhattan? She's like, no, he just doesn't want to come out. I was like, he's a smart kid, So then we're just watching it over on TV. It was just so heart-wrenching. And reached out to my buddy, and we said, there's waves today. Let's get out there. And it was a beautiful day.
How was that?
A beautiful day. The surf was beautiful, I should say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a really clean day, and we didn't really say much. We could see the smoke from the Twin Towers coming in. It was surreal. It really was.
Yeah, it was weird trying to surf and trying to enjoy it, and at the same time, kind of knowing what's going on.
That's right. It was healing. It definitely was, because it was such a stressed out day, but it was hard to feel happy.
How did you tell your students? How old were they?
7th graders, so 12, 13. What was happening is they didn't make an announcement over the school. They didn't want to panic, and throughout the day, parents were coming up and picking their kids up. And so the following day, is when I spoke with my kids about it, and it was just an appreciation for our country. These incredible people who went into the buildings. Just think these awful terrorists went to those buildings, gave up their lives to kill people, where our heroes went into these buildings, giving up their lives to save people. So I really wanted to make that point clear to my students, and we've seen just such great examples of that. And I think we all have to remember, everyone talks about our country being so divided. I really believe if you talk to the average person, people are cool. It's the politicians and media who want to get that all going. So I want us to remember what happened 20 years ago, because we were really a united country, and I still think we are if we just don't listen to, the idiots.
Put our phones down, maybe.
Yeah,
Turn
absolutely.
off social media.
Absolutely. It's there's a lot of good things going on in this world, and we just have to focus on that and remember the heroes. Those people. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here right now.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Mike Regan with Surf Rider.
All right, Mike, where are you from?
I originally grew up in Lynbrook, but I've been a Long Beach resident now for about 20 years.
So, where were you on 9/11?
I was living in Manhattan, and I just moved into an apartment about 5 blocks from the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And my first son was born about 2 months prior to that.
Whoa.
So we heard a loud bang and thought maybe a piece of furniture had fallen. or maybe that someone blew up the Federal Reserve building. We couldn't figure it out. And I went out on my terrace, and sure enough, I saw a plume of smoke, and then turned on the TV, and the rest is history. We were holed up in that apartment, just scared as could be, not sure what was going on. And then I saw a cloud of smoke roll down John Street, just like a wall of smoke from my terrace. I closed everything up and I started duct taping all my windows. And again, just sat tight to try and figure out things. Fortunately, I had a friend of mine in Midtown. And once I was able to hike with my son under a wet blanket for about an hour, I was able to get a cab and get over to my friend's apartment. Pretty crazy day.
What was going through your mind when you started seeing all this happen? Do you think, I mean, like, were your first instincts to try to get out of there, or were you going to try to hold up for a little bit?
We were going to try and hold up. I mean, again, the Federal Reserve building was a block away from where I lived, so I wasn't sure what they were going for. And so I did feel vulnerable, but I kind of felt like I was safe as being indoors and out of that plume of smoke. And so I lost my water halfway through the day, and then once I had no water and no power, well, wasn't too many options.
What, did you know anyone in the buildings?
I did. A couple of guys that I went to high school with lost their lives that day. Some of the guys that worked for Cantor Fitzgerald that I knew also. Frightening to think that just happened 5 blocks from where I was standing when that happened. I can't believe that someone would actually do that intentionally to another human being. I think it's terrible. The world is full of too much hate.
What was it like after? I mean, when could you get back into your place? How long after?
So my place of business was even closer to the site, and we were a real estate company developer, and so one of the landing gear actually hit one of our buildings, and that became evacuated. That was unsafe. Another one was under development, and that site shut down indefinitely. And the third building that we had down there, that also pretty much got shut down indefinitely. So I kind of had the fortunate circumstance of completely randomly being able to find a rental car the next morning.
Wow.
And I had a family place out on the North Fork of the island, and we just disappeared for almost a month. And it was a little surreal because 20 years ago you didn't have social media and all this other stuff in your face. So the New York Times was my source of news every morning with a cup of coffee. I didn't have it shoved down my face with images because we didn't even have a TV at the house, summer house, So everything went just super quiet and introspective for about a month.
Did it force you to reevaluate your life and change because you ended up moving out here about?
It's certainly reevaluated whether I felt safe living in Manhattan. We moved out of that neighborhood just because it was not going to be the same for a long time, for health reasons, for a whole host of reasons. With a newborn, we moved into Midtown and stuck it out one more year before we moved out this way. And it was the right move.
Tom Murphy.
And where are you from, Tom?
The mean streets of Rockefeller Center.
So where were you on 9/11?
9/11, I was a block and a half away working on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Wow.
Came up 2 minutes after the first plane hit. People were looking up, saying that a small plane had hit in. And then I just saw the smoke start to darken, and my heart sunk. And I had 2 brother-in-laws who were at Cantor Fitzgerald, and a piece of Cantor Fitzgerald stationery landed at my foot. And my heart broke even more.
What were your